Nolan, that's funny. Yeah, the Senate. I don't believe in the Senate. I resist the Senate. I'll go form my own resistance and rebellion. How are you doing tonight? Love you, baby. Have a good night. Hey, Cap. Yeah, it's been a while. I know that I haven't been gaming quite as much. I've kind of been involved in this project that I'm writing right now. Um, I'm basically writing a horror story, and I just got really excited about doing it. So my gaming streams have kind of fallen off, uh, which isn't, it's not great. This isn't really so much the job. This is a side project, and it's something that I'm like really excited about. And so I've just made a lot of time to writing this story. But yeah, I'll probably get on it again shortly. I'm trying to work a schedule where I write during certain periods and then I relax and game during other certain periods. But as of right now, I think because the idea is still in that exciting new realm, that I just that it's all I really think about doing is if I'm not at work, I'm trying to think up the idea. So basically what it is going to be a game for a few friends where I'm going to put them in late 1800s Louisiana in the city of Lafayette. There is a monster that is causing problems. We'll leave it at that. And they have to hunt it down and kill it. So I'm doing a lot of planning. I haven't written anything like this in, oh man, God knows how long. I haven't written anything substantial since high school, but this is something that I really I really think would be fun, not just for myself but for my friends. So let's see. What'd you end up writing about? How'd it go? Zombies. Maybe I'll put that over here. That looks a little better. Yeah, that looks fine. So how'd it go? Like, did you just start it, or what was the plot? Like, was it the zombie outbreak? Was it already years into the zombie outbreak and, you know, a group of survivors. Like, what was it? Okay. Okay, so let's... If I weren't nervous about, like, one of the friends that I'm running the game for accidentally, like, coming through the stream and seeing what it is that I'm planning. You know what? Let me, so we're writing this game on Roll20. So let me see what we've got. No, I don't want that. I would want... Ah, that seems like a lot. Although that just kind of seems weird. Oh, damn, Geo. Is your uncle okay? Like, we've all been really nervous about this whole thing, but how's he doing? Okay, good. Good, good. Unfortunately, I had a buddy who... Well, I have a friend who... not his mom, but, like, his mother-in-law died of it. And according to him, it was just real fast. Just... She got the diagnosis, and within 3 days, she was... Like, she got the diagnosis, she was quarantined away from the family, and within 3 days, she was gone. Like, it's crazy how strong of a left turn that this thing can make. I've been okay. I've just been busy with work, and as I just said to Nintendo, when I haven't been working, I've kind of just been working on writing this story for my friends. So the monster that is going to be... Oh, well, I appreciate it, Nintendo. The monster that's going to be attacking the city is called the Gore Beast. Shape-shifting monster, absorbs biological organic materials, so it can... Oh, shit. Baby, no! Dang it. No. That's what I'm talking about. My girlfriend just popped in, and, oh man, I hoping that she did not just... She just went to bed. I don't know if she's still watching. That was close. All right, well, I guess I'm not talking about it. Hey, baby. Well, so much for that. Love you. Have a good night. Yeah, maybe I guess. I love you. How much of it did you see? Well, I'm glad that you didn't see too much, because, yeah, you get it. All right, I love you. I appreciate you wanting to watch the video, but I love you. Bye. Whew. Okay, so the time period is going to be late 1800s Louisiana. Um, so I wanted to do a setting where, because something that I was like nervous about was the idea of cell phones and a lot of like free communication, and the ability to communicate and get ideas back and forth between people really fast. So like that was a worry of mine, was if I put players in a modern day and age type situation, and then something happened and they can just pop on the cell phone and they're like, hey, I need everyone over here, this is going down right now, everyone just kind of lumps in, and it's not really a thing. So I wanted to put them in a setting that removed uh, most abilities of like instant communication. So we're looking at late 1800s Louisiana, specifically the township of Lafayette. Uh, Back in 1886, it was known as Vermillionville. It was built around the Lafayette Church. It was a church town, um, where we're looking at a small population. Like the town, there was a small city there, but it only had like a population of 2,000 people at the time, 2,100 people. So small town. Uh, Main thing in that area, in that township at the time, it was mainly plantations. The Civil War had taken place, and ended a few years earlier. So you had this large black population, uh, that was now free people. But at that time, probably about 50% of the population was Black Americans, and so I I have this really diverse population here, um, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun to interact with in this time period. Uh, one of the one of the players is going to be like a telepath. When did I start streaming? And a message boy. Let me see. I mean, I started streaming probably about 20 minutes ago. A message boy. You mean kind of like a mail carrier? So as far as like as I had mentioned earlier, uh, post Civil War, and with a lot of the economy being driven by plantation owners at that time, I think that a good, this is going to be kind of like an economy that might be struggling. Um, Obviously, free labor not being a thing anymore, and I think that uh, I might be able to play around with some of the local uh, characters and um, I mean there could be some dark dealings from business owners that are afraid of failure. So that I haven't quite gotten that far in to the story just yet. Um, but let's talk a little bit about like the characters of the story so far. Now, as I said, this is a game, and so my players have built some of their characters. There's only one friend of mine that still hasn't quite built their character up, but we have uh, a young man named Harry Wilson. He's about 23 years old. He's a farmhand with a nice, friendly face. Usually wears like the jean overalls, not really a. He doesn't wear a shirt. He just wears his coveralls, and uh, his boots and everything are just falling apart. But he's just kind of average Joe guy who gets thrown into the the fray of this. And a good friend of his is a Mr. Isaiah Freeman, about the same age, about 23, African American. Um, his father worked, somehow earned his freedom, hence Isaiah Freeman. Now, we're not really gonna like really flesh out the backstory immediately before the story even starts. I kind of want to see how the players how the players are going to flesh out their own characters' backstories and their families. Um, but as it stands right now, Isaiah Freeman dresses in a nice white button down. He usually has on dress pants with suspenders and some dress shoes. The player CJ, he specifically was like, I want one of those flat caps, that one of those cloth hats that kind of like comes around the front of the hat. So he's got a plaid flat cap, and this guy is more of the class he is going to be called the spooky, someone that's able to like see spirits, um, and tune into the monster's location and see through the monster's eyes, casting some spells. Oh yeah, uh, Geo, this is gonna be something that I'm gonna be working on probably for the next month, um, and then the actual game is gonna start in about a month, and I really don't know how long it's gonna go. I think that it's probably gonna be a game that is played over the course of 2 months, maybe more. Um, and depending on what my players do, I could be writing this story throughout the whole thing. I when you're writing an interactive story for players, The fact of the matter is, everything beyond the intro paragraph could be thrown out the window. Uh, it's going to come down to my ability, and I don't have too much practice with it, but it's going to come down to my ability to take what the players are doing and steer that into the storyline that I've created. Otherwise, the fact of the matter is, I could start the story off, and as soon as I ask the first player, what do you do? And I hand over some of that control to them, they have the ability to just take it in a totally different direction. And it's true, you know, I put together an outline for this story that I hope that we can stick to, but it's very possible that that storyline might go right out a window. I appreciate that, Geo. Me too. I really do. Um, it is a horror story, and uh, so I read and listen to a lot of like Stephen King things that really get the blood moving, thrillers, horror stories, and I would say that I have thoughts, scenarios, scenes that play out in my head that scare the ever living Christ out of me. And I'm not an artist, I can't really draw. Um, so basically, what I'm hoping I can do is in words convey what I imagine, and hopefully in the process scare the crap out of a couple of my friends too. So that's, you know, that's the ultimate goal. The other night I freaked myself out pretty bad writing uh, a good amount of this stuff. So let's take a look. Right now, what I am putting details in for, because I know that you had mentioned something about like a male boy, but one of the characters, oh yeah, I got sidetracked. Tabitha Swanson. Tabitha Swanson is a young girl of about 15 years old. Um, and the only reason that I digress to describe her father is a conspiracy theorist, and he's looking for like, this is happening, and I think it's linked to this situation over here, and this is what these politicians are doing, and it's all linked together. He's a conspiracy theorist, and he works for a Gazette newspaper posting stories about these conspiracy theories. And a lot of the people in town, you know, they look at the Gazette and they kind of look at it like it's just garbage. It's not real. So he goes home and he throws all of these conspiracy stories onto his daughter Tabitha Swanson, and you know, it's her dad. She accepts it as gospel truth. So Tabitha Swanson is a conspiracy theorist type, and is very disbelieving of people, really wants to like pull the truth out of a situation. Um, so those are the three characters that we have right now. We do have one player that still has yet to build his character, so hopefully he gets that done soon, because my ability to write the beginning of this whole story is really hinging on knowing who my characters are in this story. So right now I'm writing out some details about this Charles Swanson, who is Tabitha's father. And so I picture picture him being about 6 foot tall. I think he's a taller man with dark, long, and I'm gonna say, I don't want him to come off as crazy, because I think that, you know, this whole concept of the weird and the weird being true, I want him to seem like he just has crazy ideas, but overall is a pretty well adjusted person. So I'm thinking dark long black hair. Pulled back in like a ponytail and brushed and very clean. Do you like what you're doing, or would you like to do something else? Are you talking about the writing or like my actual job? Because as far as the writing, this isn't like my normal work. This is a side project. Like I I like to create things. Writing, I've never written before. It well, when I say that, you know, I mean, like, I haven't written anything for anything other than like high school assignments, and Jesus, that was 13 years ago. I haven't written anything since high school, but I mean, I like creating things. Honestly, I kind of wish that I had experience in film. I can play guitar. I would write songs. That was always fun. But I never really had like software and stuff to create things, put things into uh, a, a medium that could be shared. And it's a lot easier to now, you know, with YouTube and SoundCloud and everything. But uh, I kind of pulled away from that lifestyle when I was around 19 years old and went into the workforce. I wish I never stopped. I have friends that never stopped playing, and they're doing very successfully now. And uh, I've got a friend that runs a recording studio now, and I'm really happy for him. But I just laugh because, you know, my friend that runs the recording studio, I remember teaching him how to play, and he's a fantastic player now. He blows me out of the water, and I just kind of think about, like, if I'd stayed in that. I still pick up my guitars. I have them spread around the house. Choctopus? You know I have to look this up now. Oh, this isn't him. Where is this guy? Let's take a look. Looks like he does a good deal of Fall Guys now.
Okay, the long-awaited follow-up to the foot video. I really think that collectively, Zelda players have maybe 2 brain cells. And also, we're playing with items, so we are the strongest version of the most brain-dead character. I'll be taking that.
I'm watching him currently play Zelda. I never actually played Zelda.
She just sends people into the sacred realm and deletes them. I'm unkillable under here, unless of course I drown. Which would suck. You leave that turtle alone. Go on, Bombchu. Do it. Bombchu versus Pikachu. Well, if this isn't fair, I get to call all my Pokemon. Oh, the perfect duo. He can't get to me, and then I just have Moltres do all the work. Moltres? It feels like the items are spawning in my favor.
I'll have to check him out more. Yeah, I need to get back on doing my Smash Brothers streams. I'm actually thinking of allocating on a schedule basically what I'll be calling Friday Night Fights and doing Smash Brothers streams on Fridays. So that is a plan for the future. As far as writing, I think I'm just going to be trying to devote a couple hours each night to maybe getting down some ideas. So I think I'm going to make this guy like semi-formal, something that looks clean but is still pretty casual. Because I don't want him to be super dressy. I just want him to dress like he wants to be taken seriously. Although few people in town actually do. The only people that really take him seriously are his coworkers at the Township Gazette. Now, as far as Tabitha, I know that she had lost her mother. Did not tell me how her mom died, but that's totally fine. We can always add notes to that later when they flesh out their characters and backstories more. So let's see. How old do I want to make him? So I think if his daughter is 15, I'm going to say that he's probably about 32-ish, 33. You know, people back then were having kids at a much younger age. All right, Gio, take care. Enjoy Cali. I've been there a few times. It's a beautiful state. But I'll catch you later. Hmm. See something here. It's kind of a river. And it looks like there's a railway. I want to say that this is railway. What do they call it when you know, places where lots of trains load up? like a hub. What's up, Clockety? How you doing? Glad to see you. How's school going? You're still doing the online schooling? I can imagine that's difficult. Most of my work now, I still go to work, but I have a lot of people that I work with where everything is done over the phone or by webcam. And just doing that with one person can be difficult. So the idea of doing that like a teacher with multiple students seems like it would be difficult. It's going to be some time for us to get through this. I'm hoping not super long, but it'll happen eventually. Print your music sheet. What, did they send you music, or you're just looking to have a standard? Oh, what do you play? That's a beautiful instrument. First instrument I ever picked up was a violin, and I loved the instrument, but um, it was a rental. I think most parents rent out instruments when they're not sure if their kids are really going to take to it. And what ended up happening was my dad worked for New York Sanitation. And so he would always come home with like these treasures that he would find that people threw away. And he found a matching black and white Fender guitar and bass. And I didn't really take to the bass, but I picked up the guitar and I was, enjoying that. And so what my dad did was he traded in both of those instruments and got me a nicer guitar. And so I ended up learning guitar. I've been playing it for a long time, although kind of fell off after I started working. Always play music. And like if anything, it's always going to be something that you can do for yourself. Uh, I think there's a lot of pressure for you to try and like be successful uh, for other people, but music and being able to play an instrument is going to be something that you can take with you and enjoy it for yourself, whether you do it seriously or not. It's always going to be something that you can do and produce, and it's a wonderful and beautiful thing. Let me see something. So music is always going to be something that you can bring with you. Don't. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. Although it's actually played with a capo. It's a few steps up here on the seventh fret instead of down at the bottom. It's got that really high chimey. And but I just need to remember to keep one of these on my person. What's that next chord? No, it's not. I think it's a... Shit, I can't remember the chord. It's a D minor. They want you to succeed so you can pay your debt? Your debt. I mean, I would hope that's not like really what the driving force behind wanting you to be successful is. Music is going to be a good thing. If let me ask you, did you start playing cello because you wanted to play cello, or was that an instrument that like you were forced into, and it wasn't like something that you wanted to do, you just kind of like fell into it because they wanted it? If you love the cello, just keep playing. Like, do you own your cello, or is it rented out to you? Beautiful instrument. Like I said, I played violin. Um, Personally, I think one of my favorite of the stringed instruments in that category. I love the viola. Oh no, I can't imagine. My goodness. it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the highest quality cello, but I think you could probably find yourself, wow, holy crap, look at those. Those are beautiful. Um, but I think you could probably find a cello for maybe about 2 to 300. It wouldn't be super high quality, but it might be enough where you'd be able to continue to play. I think you're probably looking like, if you want something that's going to be better and more standard, you're probably looking at about 7 to 800. Um, which don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you that you just have $800 to spend right now. But I think if it's something that you love, um, it's something that's doable. Your friend plays viola. She had a breakdown due to them not being able to be on a judge thing. But it was a mistake. Oh, that's how it goes. That's it. Clockety, if you need to head to sleep, go to sleep. Take care, but you know, look into the cello if it's something that you really enjoy. Uh, next time that you come back in, let me know. Let me know how the hunt for your own personal cello goes. I don't know your age. I don't know what point in your life you are from maybe picking up uh, a job that can allow you to start putting some money together for your own personal cello. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. So take care. Have a good night. All right. get back to this. Hmm. speed. Crap. That doesn't really help. Hello, Wicked. How are you doing? Good to hear. I appreciate you joining. I'm, trying to write the story behind this game. It's a horror game. Um, I don't know if you've heard of Monster of the Week, but it's a game system that's based on like monster hunting shows like Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and so I have my outline, and now I'm just kind of writing scenes for that first session. Um, as I said, I have my outline, so right now I'm just kind of opening up. No, not Lovecraftian. Uh, I think I think one of the difficulties about trying to do a Lovecraftian horror is the unknown. Uh, and of course, they have Arkham Horror, uh, Lovecraftian horror games, but most of those are so grim dark, and I'm not necessarily against the grim dark, but I want there to be a sense of learning what the creature is, planning how to take it down. It seems like in Lovecraftian horror, uh, it's mostly almost like running away. There is a lot of investigating, but I don't know. It always kind of seems to me like the winning or the success of the heroes in Lovecraftian horror is almost kind of like luck. Exactly. There's a lot of dread, there's a lot of despair, and I know that in my story I want there to be a sense of at some point in the story I do want there to be a sense of we might be in over our head, but I don't necessarily want this to be uh, so incredibly overwhelming that it's just kind of a sense of why are we even trying? I want there to be a sense of, maybe we're not cut out for this, but I want there to be a sense of we still need to get this done. The setting we're looking at late 1800s Louisiana, Lafayette specifically. It's a railroad town, a hub surrounded by plantations. And the reason that I decided to go with Louisiana late 1800s, 1892 ish specifically, is I didn't want to have too many modern day conveniences available. I didn't want there to be the ability to, what's happening? Oh, I'm going to get on my cell phone. I'm going to, just take care of this. I want things to feel a little bit out of reach. I want things to, I don't want the tools to give the heroes a sense of safety. I want it to be something that's a bit more gritty. And I think that early 20th century, late 19th century is a good time period for that. Exactly. Okay, so there is actually one character who one of the players, the character he created. If you look into the Monster of the Week game system, there is a character called the Spooky, and the Spooky gets certain abilities that the player specifically, he doesn't necessarily want to do voodoo per se, but he wants to have magics that are kind of voodoo. He's not going to end up being like the witch doctor, but he is going to have ties to those types of magics. His ability to converse with spirits and see the dead, the ability to give diseases to targets through magics, the ability to have premonitions and have sights of what's coming in the future, and read futures or see bad situations from a distance. As I said, it's not necessarily voodoo, but I think that the roots of his magic have ties to voodoo. Oh, dude, yes. So I want there to be dangers in the swamps and the lakes and the bayous nearby. Um, and so that's the setting, and I love the setting and what I'd be able to do with it. We're looking at a time period just post Civil War, and so I think that there's kind of some companies, plantations mainly, that are going through an economic crisis, with, you know, slavery being abolished. So finding workers, I think for the most part, there are going to be a lot of uh, African Americans during that time period that maybe still end up on plantations being paid. And I'm not, I'm going to have to do some research into wages and living situations, but um, I think that because I did some research on the economy in that area, and the population in that area, and around like 1880, 1860, 1880, we're looking at 50% of the population being black, most of them being slaves working on plantations or workers in plantations. Um, so I think that the economy in that area is probably struggling with that. Oh yeah, that's definitely something that I am going to have to start looking at. Is I used to speak French. I took French classes in high school. I don't really remember too much of it, but I'm definitely going to have to, for authenticity's sake, find uh, and I'll probably have like Google Translate open for a good deal of it, but I would want to introduce a few French speaking characters, obviously some characters that know how to converse well in French and maybe have difficulties conversing in English. And I think that's going to be a fun dynamic to play with, but it is going to that is going to end up pushing me, especially in a game setting where it's not going to be a book per se, obviously, where I can control the conversation. I can begin a conversation. I can steer a conversation in a direction, but the conversation and where it goes is directly related to what the players want to know, and I might not have a plan for that. So we're gonna see what happens there. Right now I'm kind of just starting the opening. So the overarching plot, the threat that the story starts out with is, and I'm just going to read this verbatim from the opening, but people are getting a sickness where the skin becomes soft and mushy like old fruit. Eventually, the sores stop healing, skin can begin melting away, and people die of massive blood loss. Some victims, well, I guess there's not really. Oh yeah, no, it is kind of gross. Um, but some of the people who fall sick with this disease, it's believed to be a disease, you know, most of them die in their beds, and but there is a monster behind these sicknesses, and sometimes people die and are found and are buried, but sometimes the monster goes to where the dead person is and absorbs them, leaving no evidence of where the person went except for usually bedding soaked in blood. So what happens is there is a monster that I have named the Gore Beast. Uh, and the idea behind the Gore Beast is that it will infect a person with a venom. Uh, Venoms, like certain snakes, have venoms that do a lot of. I think it's, what type of venom is it called? It's like an endo venom that causes necrosis. Cytotoxic. So necrotic cytotoxic venoms will actually eat away at the skin and tissue. So the monster, it's a shape-shifting monster, and it can take the shape of creatures and even people that it has absorbed. But in order for it to absorb a meal properly, it injures its prey, injects a venom that over the next few days begins eating away at the skin, causing, you know, that skin to become soft, vulnerable, start melting away. Once sores get too large, it actually has the ability to just absorb the person. It's not a pretty process. It's pretty gross, to be honest, but that's that's the monster. Um, so once absorbed, the monster can imperfectly take the form of the creature or person it has absorbed into its body. Monster can also split a part of itself off, although the monster can maintain only control of the portion that its consciousness is in, because it's kind of, it can shapeshift, but its actual form is kind of just a blob. And there's a purpose for that, for future arcs. Even though I'm only trying to do this arc with the Gore Beast has a higher purpose that if this campaign continues into future arcs, you know, you find out what the purpose was that this creature served. But yeah, it's initially I was gonna name this the Gore Sack just because of what it was. So as far as what the beast is meant to be, it is the manifestation of magic. And like I said, this is for a future arc. I am not getting into this in this arc, but the idea of the Gore Beast is it's kind of it's a food source. It's a metaphoric cow for vampires. Something something that I can figure out to incorporate into the story in the next arcs down in the future. But the idea is that this Gore Beast is attacking this town to absorb people and organic material so that it can be brought back to the vampires that control it, and they're just a food source. It's a way of this creature doing the dirty work of, attacking people, eating people without exposing the vampire. The vampire can stay in the safety of its home base, and when called upon, the Gore Beast will go to the vampire, where the vampire can then eat its fill from what the Gore Beast has absorbed. So it seems like a this big issue, which it is an issue at the beginning, but the truth is, once the players finish this arc of the story, that the Gore Beast is just a small part of a much bigger threat. Because once the Gore Beasts are gone and unable to provide that food source for the vampires, those vampires are going to have to come out and get their food source themselves, and that's going to present a much bigger threat. So that's as far as like I've thought into why the Gore Beast is here. As far as how it was created in the first place, that's going to be a thought for a later time. But that being said, its ability to provide a food source means that it can separate a part of itself. If you have a blob that is this big, and then its consciousness stays in this portion, separates another portion off for the controlling vampires to feed on, the consciousness is over here, and there's just a pile of food material over here. So its ability to separate and escape and run away is going to be incorporated into the story. It's not a pretty creature. It is not. The funny thing is the same thing you said. Ew. I had someone else read the synopsis of what the Gore Beast was going to be, and that was the first thing they said. They're reading it and they're just, ew. That was something that I was thinking. The idea of, so okay, that I feel like that's gonna be a touchy subject. The last thing that I want to do is racially profile a group of people as evil. So that's gonna kind of be being a subject that I want to really plan out, but I was thinking, you know, the idea of having an indigenous people that were in, you know, that was in Louisiana, because that was the whole thing with like the Trail of Tears, and Andrew Jackson just buying out Louisiana and then forcing Native Americans off of that land, and for for there to be a group of natives that are upset, obviously, about their land being taken from them and being chased off of it. I think that it would be realistic, for there to be bad blood between, some of the natives in that area and, the people in that city. So it's definitely something that I have thought of and considered. I want to play it in a realistic way that's also not, you know, like stereotypical or offensive. So that's going to be that I feel like that's going to be a challenge. Um, Once again, that's future planning. That's going to be a future arc, but the idea of, either Native American nature magics or voodoo, th- those have been those have been, kind of like inspirations for how this is going to play out. So right now, as of right now, I'm just kind of writing the opening. You're literally tuning in to the very beginning of planning this out. Um, I wonder. I don't know if I can post a link or a file into the stream. Hmm. Because if I could, I would send you. I would send you the outline. Oh yeah. Um, so I think like one of the most interesting Native American legends, uh, would be like the Wendigo. Let me look up the Wendigo. Oof. Oof. The only issue with, I guess, having the Wendigo is that's more of a northern, native folklore legend, but oh Jesus, that thing is creepy. So let's take a look at like maybe more uh, more southern, specifically Native American, demons. Hey Mark, I'm doing well. How are you? I'm just talking to Wicked here about, demons, the spooky, the arcane. How are you doing? Iroquois myth. Hunkam. Huracan. Oh, but these are like Mayan gods or Mayan demons. I'm on a bad page here for this. Well, that's not necessarily my focus. Atacapa stories of cannibalism. Let me check that out. Oof. Wicked, that is something that I am going to have to take note of. Let me go back into here. I'm just gonna have to make a note of that. That is something that I am going to have to remember. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a big part of it. Oh, you know what I might be able to do in a text document? Here, let me see. This is probably going to be really long, but ooh, yeah, okay, I can't. All right, I'm going to send this in 2 parts. Or maybe even 3 parts, Jesus. So this was the this was kind of the teaser that I put out for seeing if there were people that would be interested in playing this kind of game, this kind of setting. So yeah, Wicked, that Ata- Atakapa, Atakapa, Atakapa. I'm gonna have to look at the pronunciation, but I'm gonna have to look into that. The idea of uh, a Native American tribe that was known for rituals of cannibalism and eating their enemies, that would be a great tie-in to what the Gore Beast is supposed to be. So let's get back to, we're going to be writing up the example here. What was that noise? Oh, Jesus. This is messed up. I'm writing a horror story. What was that? Oh, someone followed. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it's actually it's nice to have people to talk to while I'm doing this, because I was trying to write out some stuff the other night and I freaked myself out so bad that I was up till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning just having panic attacks. Um, the thing is, like, Peter, me, I know that monsters aren't real. I don't believe in ghosts. The supernatural, it's all fun stories. It's all fun stories and well and good until I watch a horror movie or I get so freaked out in my own head that I start panicking. I think a raccoon or a cat outside started growling. I almost shit myself the other night. So the idea of like jumping into my head and thinking about these horror concepts and just being by myself gets me so worked up. Yeah, I was up the other night. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Every light downstairs was on. I couldn't go through a doorway because I was nervous I was gonna open it up and see something on the other side. So as of right now, you know, we're still getting into the opening. There are 4 characters. 3 of them are playable currently. So let's go over to where is my Roll20? Oh, I must have accidentally closed that out. Give me a moment. Actually, that would be kind of cool. So just so you're aware, the characters have been created, but they don't have completely fleshed out backstories. And I think that's okay for the players not to have thought about uh, what their backstories necessarily are completely. There are some things determined, like one character has uh, a father who works for a conspiracy newspaper. Her mother is dead, but the background as far as like how the mom died hasn't been said. Uh, so you know, there are some details that they have worked out and they said this has to be part of my backstory. But then there are a lot of details that I'm going to try and play around with them in the actual gameplay that they haven't written up yet. So let's get to some of the hunters here. So the first one is a young man of 23. His name is Harry Wilson. He is a farmhand that works on one of the plantations in the area. Friendly-faced kid, usually wears denim coveralls, doesn't like to wear the shirt, and has these boots that have been just completely worn through. The way he describes it is he's walking around in boots that are talking to you, you know, where the sole separates from the boot. He actually didn't give me a name for the type of plantation. Once again, that's one of those details that he can always fill in on his own and tell me where it is that he wants to be working from. But he is a class that is called the Mundane. And I actually really like this because a lot of these classes in Monster of the Week, you have things like the Spooky, the Spellcaster, the Divine. You can actually be like a literal angel in this game system. But I looked at classes that weren't like super overpowering because when I'm doing this collaborative game, one of the things that I really want to avoid is I want to avoid this this feeling that there is one person, there is one player, there is one character who is the one, the hero, the you know, the main protagonist. This is going to be a collaborative game. So I took out the more powerful player characters and I left them with, you know, they still have spellcasters and people with abilities, but I took out the fact that, you know, this person is an angel. This one is a supernatural chosen person with magical weapons, and like that could be fun if played well, but as I said, I don't want there to be an angel and then everyone else is like, well, let's help the angel. I want each individual to feel like the story could hinge on their ability to contribute something, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if they fail, that the whole group is going to fail. Because in one of those other situations, if that angel fails against that demon and you're just left with a bunch of mortals, you're fucked. And I want each player to feel like they're a contributing member and not just a supporting role in the story. So, the first character that we're talking about, this Harry Wilson, the farmhand, he is a class that's called the Mundane. It is literally your average Joe, no special powers and magic character, but he comes with some really great abilities as far as like the story is concerned. Um, he has this one ability that's called Always the Victim. When another person has to protect you, they gain experience. And whenever a monster captures you, you gain experience. The Power of Heart. When fighting a monster, if you help someone, you automatically give them a boost as if you rolled a perfect success. And don't worry, I'll check it out. This is great. Whenever you go off by yourself to check out somewhere scary, mark experience. So it's this character who doesn't have magic, who really shouldn't be in these situations, and their abilities to like level up and become better characters are all tied to them wandering off and maybe getting captured or uh, doing something that, most people in that situation would be like, I'm not going in there. There's a door, or there's a basement down the stairwell, and it's scary down there. I don't know what's going to be down there. I don't want to go down there. Most people wouldn't go down there, but for the mundane, for him to become a better character, he's going to be like, yeah, I'm going down the stairs. I don't, I don't like it, but here I go. Um, so Mundane is a great character. We have Isaiah Freeman. So Isaiah Freeman is actually about the same age, 23 years old. He's African American. He comes from a family that was, uh, you know, they were owned by one of the plantation owners, and his father earned his freedom one way or the other, whether it was fighting in the Civil War, earning his freedom over time to the by working for the plantation owner. Once again, that's one of those details that hasn't been hammered out, but I'm gonna be talking to the player about that in the future. But as a free man now, he dresses very clean. He presents himself very well. He has a clean white button down. Usually wears dress pants, dress shoes, has suspenders. And one thing that the player absolutely wanted was a green and gold like plaid, the flat caps. That hat that's kind of like the fabric that kind of comes around the front here. But he is what is called the Spooky, and his abilities are more tied to magic. As I was talking with Wicked about earlier, it's not per se voodoo, but it could have connections to voodoo. His ability to use magic, hex, when you cast a spell with use magic, as well as the normal effects, you may pick from the following: target can contract a disease, target immediately suffers 2 harm by magic, ignoring armor, and target breaks something precious or important. So you can control uh, another character in the game. The sight, you can see invisible things, especially spirits and magical influences. You may also communicate with and even make deals with the dead you see. They give you more opportunities to spot clues when you investigate mysteries. And finally, tune in. You can attune your mind to a monster or minion, roll the stat called plus weird, and this one gets pretty specific. On a 10 plus, you hold 3. Holds are about questions that you get to ask, but you get to ask things like, where is the creature right now? What is it planning to do? Who is it going to attack next? Who does it regard as the biggest threat? And how can I attract its attention? But one of the things that I absolutely love, uh, if you fail this role, is the monster becomes aware of you. So if you try to roll this to spy on the monster and see what it is up to and it fails, it backfires and will lead the monster directly to you. And so that's going to be something that I get to play around with. Finally, is a character named Tabitha Swanson. Tabitha Swanson is a 15-year-old girl. This is the one who has her father that works for a local newspaper. Her mother is dead. Once again, we don't know how her mom died, but they live on the outskirts of downtown Lafayette. Her father is a big conspiracy theorist and writes for this newspaper that he writes for, the Gazette. It's kind of like the National Enquirer, you know, like people see these stories and they're these conspiracy stories, these very weird stories, and they just kind of look it over like it's bullshit. But he absolutely believes in them. He writes these stories for this Gazette. He comes home and he tells his daughter all of these stories, which she accepts as gospel truth. So she, in turn, becomes this conspiracy theorist. And although most people think that she's crazy, the truth is that a lot of these things that, you know, she's thinking is, you know, this is what's actually going on, a lot of it's actually true. So her abilities are connect dots at the beginning of each mystery. If you look for the wider patterns that current events might be a part of, you get to ask following questions. Is this person connected to current events more than they are saying? When and where will the next critical event occur? What does the monster want from this person? Is this connected to previous mysteries we have investigated, which will help in future arcs? And how does this mystery connect to the bigger picture? That is huge, because like I said, I haven't really figured out all the details of the next arc, but with this type of character in the mix, it's going to have to be something where I have to think about, like, what is that next arc? Because before I even have it planned, I might already have to be telling this character, like, there's more to this story than just what you're fighting right now, and this is going to be part of it. Finally, contrary, this kind of seems like this is going to actually be pretty fun for me as the gamekeeper. But when you seek out and receive someone's honest advice on the best course of action for you, and then you do something else instead, you go against the better advice of a character, you mark experience. If you do exactly the opposite of their advice, you also get to take a +1 boon with you on any moves that you make pursuing that course. So I have two characters in here that, you know, in the description of their abilities, they literally gain experience for doing things that wouldn't be like the same thing to do. When you watch those shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Supernatural, and there's that situation where you're like, no, don't go in there. It's stupid to go in there. These abilities have like driving factors to make the characters exactly run towards the danger instead of away. And so I really love that. I'm really going to enjoy that. I've played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons as, you know, a PC, as a player character. I don't have a lot of experience with DMing in those games or game mastering, um, but this game breaks things down to just storytelling. I am never going to have to roll a dice. I never have to do a dice roll. The players make all of the dice rolls. Everything's done on 2d6s, and basically, if you roll a 1 through a 6, you fail. Really bad stuff happens. On a 7 through a 9, it's you know, a middling success. You have a success, but there's going to be a drawback. And on a 10 plus, it's an absolute success. You do exactly what it was that you were planning to do. Holy shit, it's 1:30. I did not realize it was this late. So It's based off of the Apocalypse World system. I've listened to the Fate system, and well, real quick, who is the group that you listen to? Like, was that a local group, or was that like something on YouTube, or one of the podcasts that plays games like that? Podcast. Okay, I might have to add it to my list. What's the podcast? Is it available on like Spotify or? Ah, it's cool. I get it. Um, if you want to listen to a good D&D slash other system podcast, the first arc, the big story, is like 70 hours. But it's all Dungeons and Dragons, and it starts off really silly, but it's probably one of the better uh, story arcs. It's very well produced, and I think that kind of uh, makes some players jaded in like how a game is supposed to actually happen. But as long as you remember, like, it's a production, it's a story. There's going to be a lot of table talk that's edited out. But it is a very well put together podcast. It's called The Adventure Zone. And I mean, I've been listening to these guys for a few months now, and I seriously burned through so many episodes, and they've been doing it for years, and now I'm pretty much caught up, and I'm waiting for each episode as it comes out. But Not Another D&D podcast is run by some of the people behind College Humor, so that's a pretty humorous one. There's a Star Wars one called 8-Bit Saga. Uh, I don't necessarily know if that's run on a D&D system, but that one's also pretty good. Crit Fail, Dimension 20 Glass Cannon. I never got into Critical Role. Drunks and Dragons. Maybe it's Drunks and Dragons or Drunkards and Dragons. Jeez, there's two of them. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna put it on the follow list and hear it out. I love good storytelling games. Hmm. Well, everything here just saves automatically because I'm gonna be writing in Google Docs, but it looks like everything just kind of saves automatically. So I think I'm good here. I like ridiculous. Ridiculous is fun. I generally don't take things too seriously. So I'm a super lighthearted person. I don't I don't like drama. Definitely not one of my bigger things. I can take it in small doses, um, but um, eh. I like when I think about like literature and things that I would read. It's going to be more of it's not going to be so much drama, but it's going to be thriller. If it is going to be serious, I would say it's going to be thriller, but um, not not drama. I don't know, not drama or romance. That's not really my deal. But I love comedy. I love comedies and thrillers. I think it's good entertainment. Let me see something here. All right, well, it is 1:30, so I think I'm going to call it for a night. Got a few more ideas into the Roll20, a few more things on paper, and I'm going to be doing this over the next couple months, the next month, maybe a month and a half. Um, so I'm going to be trying to take time to get this all laid out over the next month and a half. Feel free to come back and join me. Like I said, writing scary stuff while having someone to talk to is nicer than doing it alone. So feel free to check back in, and eventually we will get to the actual gameplay, and you'll be able to see how it all turns out. So, guys, really nice talking to you. I'll catch you later.